And one time I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw from my window that there's a big fire in my backyard. But when I came there, there's no fire. So a few days went by, and again I wake up in the middle of the night and I see that there's a fire. Tell him that this time I'm going to find a place where he can't find me. So, good Tag everybody. This story is about the Alter Rebbe and a certain unknown tzaddik. So, there was once a man who came to the Alter Rebbe with his son. He was about 11 years old and he couldn't speak. It seems from the story that he actually was able to speak and he at some point lost the ability to speak. And they went to many doctors and nothing helped. So the Alter Rebbe tells him, go to Germany, to the city Metz, and go to a certain Yid's house. He tells him his name, he deals with wood, and he lives close to the mountain, close to the entrance of the city, and wait there until Hashem sends your son the cure. So this man asks Alter Rebbe, what should I do in Metz? What should I do the whole time? What should I do while I'm there? I'm going to be staying there. What should I do? So the Alter Rebbe said, don't do anything. Just, go in the streets and walk around until the point when your son will be healed. So the person didn't have enough money to make it to travel. But when he told the Chassidim what the Alter Rebbe said, so right away they got together and got the money necessary. They all donated a little bit, and they sent him off. And why? Because obviously the Chassidim knew that if the Alter Rebbe says that he's going to be saved there, they had full bitachon that it's going to happen. So after a long journey, he finally gets to Metz, this guy, and he sees that right at the entrance of the city there's a mountain, just like the Alter Rebbe said, and that there's a house over there, and he finds out that this house belongs to a guy who sells wood. So he goes to the guy and he asks if he could stay there, and the person lets him stay there. Now the guy would walk around with his son, every day, who couldn't speak, around the city, and he had no clue where he would get his help from. A few days, went by, and he didn't see any point of him being there. A few days later, the balabais, the person he's staying by, asks him. He sees that he's just walking around, not doing anything. So he asks him, "What are you doing here? You're not working. You're not doing anything. So why are you here?" So this guy tells him the whole story with the Alter Rebbe. So right away, this guy who sells wood was very surprised. How did the Alter Rebbe know that in Germany he lives there, that he is a woodcutter who lives in Germany? How did he know who he is, B'chlal? And how exactly is that going to help with his son getting healed? But all of a sudden, the light bulb went off in his head, and he said, "Listen, my friend, it looks to me like the Alter Rebbe is talking about my son-in-law. Let me explain to you what happened to me and how my son-in-law became my son-in-law. Basically, I saw a bacher who would learn in the shul. He would sit and learn, and it looked like he could use a meal, and I had a rachmanis on him, so I told him to come to eat by me. And he was okay with it, and he ate by me all the time. After a certain point, the bacher said, "Listen, I want you to do me a favor. I don't want to eat by you for free. I want to earn what I'm making. Well, I want to earn what I'm eating. So because you deal with wood, and you have a big storehouse of wood in your on your property, you need someone probably to guard it, to make sure no one steals it, to make sure everything's going fine. So maybe build me a small little room on your property, and I'll just sit there. I'll learn, and while I'm learning, I'll be able to watch the wood for you. So I decided to listen to this bacher's suggestion, and I made a little house over there, and he was there, and that was his station, and and he would watch the wood. Now, one time I woke up in the middle of the night, and I saw from my window that there's a big fire in my backyard, where this bacher was supposed to be watching. So I became very alarmed, and obviously because it's full of wood, so the most flammable thing out there, and the fire can not only damage my stuff, but it could spread. And I got very angry about this bacher, that he seems to just be sleeping and not even realizing there's a fire going on. So I ran like a crazy man into my backyard in order to wake him up and to turn off the fire, to put out the fire. But when I came there, there's no fire, nothing. So I went back home, and I told this weird thing that happened to me, that I saw a fire and then there was no more fire, to my wife. So she laughed and she said, "You probably dreamt about a fire and then hopped out of bed and went to put out the fire." So a few days went by, and again I wake up in the middle of the night and I see that there's a fire. And also right around the area where this bacher, who's supposed to be watching my wood, is. So this time I decided to wake up my wife to make sure that I'm not dreaming, and so she should see the fire. And when she saw the fire, she started to yell, "What are you doing here? What are you waking me up? Go and put out the fire." So I go out of the house, and once again, there's no fire. I went back to my house and I told my wife, and we didn't understand what was going on. But we realized that this bacher is not a simple guy. Obviously, this is not a physical fire, it's something spiritual. And we decided to keep his secret and to make as if we don't know. Obviously, this was a special person, right? Tzaddik. Now, after a certain amount of time, I said, I obviously this is a special person, so I wanted him to marry my daughter. So I gave him the suggestion. He agreed, but he had one condition. He said that he asked that I should build him a house at the edge of the city, and that they would live there. Him and my daughter, the couple, would live there, and that I wasn't allowed to come to their house ever. Whenever, in order to see each other, they would come visit me. In other words, the new couple would come and visit the parents, but the parents should never go and visit them at the house. That was his t'nai. What? Condition. Yeah, that was a condition. Obviously, he wanted to hide his ways. He didn't want it to make it public. That he is anything special. That he wanted to call attention. He didn't want to call attention to himself. And he said, "I'm gonna make my living off of baking bread because I'm an expert in making bread. And if you agree, then he says this person is telling the story, saying the bacher told me that if I agree, that I'm gonna that he's masking to the shidduch, and if not, he's not masking." So I said okay, and I made him the house. And they come to me sometimes, and Baruch Hashem, my daughter is very, very happy. So I think that based on all this, I think that the Alter Rebbe was talking about my son-in-law. If he sent you here, he probably sent you to my son-in-law, who's a very special person, who's a tzaddik. So the person, he realized this is probably it, and he went to this baker, who was a hidden tzaddik. So he comes to him, he finds him in his house, and the person, and he tells him that the Rebbe of Liadi, the Alter Rebbe, sent me to you, to Kvod Harav, in order to so that you should heal my son. And so he shouldn't be mute anymore, so he should be able to speak again. So this person was very shaken, and he said, oh, the Alter Rebbe found me even over here. You should tell him that this time I'm going to find a place where he can't find me. And he gave him a bracha. This baker who was a hidden tzaddik gave the child a bracha, and right away he was healed. He was able to speak. Right in that moment, he started to speak, the boy. And they went back to their house in Shalom. This is a story about being tsanua when it comes to inyanim of Torah and mitzvahs, right? It says in the being modest. This week's Parsha in Chutz La'aretz, I'm in Eretz Yisrael, so we're by Parshas Pinchas, but this past week's Parsha, this Shabbos' Parsha was Parshas Balak. It says at the end of the Parsha, it says in the Haftarah of the week, that you should be tzanua, you should be modest, you shouldn't publicize your tzidkus or whatever. So that's the story. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you everybody for joining, and a good tvach. Tell them, subscribe.
Why you do recording now?
Tell them to subscribe. You have to tell the viewers to subscribe on YouTube.
It's what?
Tell them, like the video and subscribe.
Okay, the video was very good. Shavua tov, mazal tov.
Say subscribe.
Subscribe what?
Subscribe to his channel so they could see more videos. Subscribe for more videos.
Subscribe.